I get what this is. Several of us, most of us, have all done some sort of vocal activity that relates to My Little Pony. However, not typically anything that has been done by Hasbro or Hub. It's all the same.
We're not paid.
No, not yet. Hopefully.
So you're fan voices.
Yeah, well, yeah. So primarily fan voice. So I guess we'll just go down the line and talk about what we do.
Yeah.
Hello. My name is Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi. Are you the guy with the beard? Is this your panel?
No.
Oh.
Shamrock hijacked the last
It is. We might as well call this Shamrock Con.
Shamrock.
I mean,
I would fund that.
let's do a Kickstarter. Beard Con.
I can't go because I don't have a beard.
You can still come. You just come and admire beards.
I got an idea for you. We're gonna just get a beard and just throw their sandwich.
Yeah, beard commissions at the end of the universe.
Okay, so back to the thing.
Yeah, who are you?
Okay, I'm Tyler Carson. I do things, voice things, sound things, not music things, sound things, mixing things. I did the Moonstruck dub, if you know what that is. That was a while ago. I was the narrator for the Moonstruck dub, the producer, me, and orchestral design, and Emily Coe, who does like Rainbow Dash and stuff. She started with Wuna with me, and that was fun. I stopped because I got bored with it because I wanted to take the narration in a direction that I could not. So there you go. And now I do all kinds of other things, but the main thing for fandom-wise, news ponies. Right here. Us three here on this end, we're all news ponies. It is a radio show that will be coming out soon, and it's going to be fantastic.
What's the release date?
The release date is not known, unfortunately. I believe it's this year.
The release date is. I will say this though, I mean, it's the same production company as Vinyl Scratch Tapes, so if you are pleased with, hopefully, the rate that comes out, it should be roughly the same, I really hope.
Yeah.
What do you do on? Who are the other people you voice?
Oh yeah, we'll also say that.
Yeah.
For news
It's
ponies, I do. That's not me. I keep thinking it's my button. I can't find my button. My character's on a button. I don't have a button. It's true. I am Sports Knight, the main male protagonist in said dub of a radio play. Dub.
He's basically the noir character.
Yeah.
Oh,
Inner monologues.
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I do that all the time anyway.
So they had like the Doug. I wonder where you go sometimes, Sports Night. He's just like looking off. Like people are just waiting for him to come back.
Scrubs, you know.
Oh yes,
Scrubs, yes.
Yeah.
That's him.
All right. My name is Chris Vanderweg. Primarily new, actually, to voicing things in the fandom. For the longest time, it was just kind of like really appreciating and watching all these awesome things. And I always felt like Spike at the end of the Grand Galloping Gala parody, where they were like, he's like, well, I'm not a content producer, but I'm a really big fan of the show. And everybody just walks away from him. And I was like, I feel this. I need to start doing something in this fandom. And I can't draw. I do theater, so I'll start trying to do voices. So I primarily do dramatic readings. There's like several that are getting done that are all just going to get uploaded under the aliases Bard, the thespian pony, Shakespearean. I'm also in News Ponies. I play Bullet Point, who, you stupid Luna lovers! I mean, just he's kind of this.
The embodiment of Fox News, but
Yeah.
He's Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, I'm Bill O'Reilly pretty much. Although,
Not quite as old.
yeah, not as old.
He basically would be like this, like Bullet Point's father is sort of like if Bill O'Reilly actually owned Fox News.
Yeah. So.
And he is his son.
Although I do think I get to make at least a hint that they've suggested as to why he hates Luna so much.
Oh?
Yeah, or at least what they've.
Why is this?
Supposedly it was that he had a really bad nightmare when he was he was young and he went to tell his dad, and his dad was just like, "Don't worry, son, it's just Luna. She just hates you."
Oh.
You know, like she's in charge of dreams, so she's why you're having nightmares. And so like ever since then he just hates
What a
Luna.
terrible father.
Yeah.
That's meta.
Yeah,
That's meta right there.
So, at least I don't know if that's gonna totally get brought up, but that's what they told me the context.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, I guess I'm the jerk of the show, pretty much. Just the one that's always arguing, no matter what the point is. Kind of, yeah. I mean, he does have a good side. He does have a good side. It's just buried very, very deep, and he's very opinionated. So it's very black and white.
So he's mainly an a-hole, but at times he just is a
Yeah, kind of. I mean, but it's the idea of just those who, they're not necessarily bad people. It's just people who have very, very strict lines that they will not cross and that they choose.
No Mary Sue or Gary Sue.
No, like, none that I can think of that are, I mean, everybody's got a really great quirk or personality.
Like, sit down.
So.
Sit down. In the audience. Sit down in the audience.
Sit, damn you!
Okay, that
So, but yeah, I've done other, Monkey Cinema projects, and that's kind of how I started to, like, ooch my way over into this fandom, so. Abridged, things like that, so. On to you, sir. Oh, gee.
I don't know who this guy is.
Oh, gee, guys. Well, my name is Rocky, and I really like this convention, right? What? Who is Lucid? What? Anyway, I play Rocky Bulworth on News Ponies, and he's a pretty cool guy. And he talks about lots of stuff, right? And yeah, like the weather. Yeah, I like to talk about the weather. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So hopefully you'll watch it. Or listen. I don't know how television works.
you leaving?
They just asked me to
Why are
say
you
things
leaving?
about how it's hot or cold outside.
She asked if you remembered the phone.
So yeah.
Because there's a girl that
Hey.
wants to buy
Yeah.
before she's asked
Every
me.
time you talk like that, I feel like you're gonna shed more tears again.
It's that okay? No, okay. So this is a funny story, and actually, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure I didn't tell you this. So the other. No, I have to. I can't do it. So no, I can't. So the other day, Friday night, right? We had a News Ponies panel talking about this, and we had a lovely audience. And we all, they asked us to do our voices like at the very end. And it actually takes me a while, like it actually takes me a legitimate long time to actually get into the voice. So my on the spot is very bad. Because when I was doing Rocky, he was just like one of 5 characters I kind of did to audition. My real ones I was looking at were like Sports Night, Bullet Point's father, who I don't remember the name of. And like, I was going after all the other like male characters, and after the second round of auditions, basically they did first round of auditions, then they did the callbacks, and they did the callbacks, and they were like, we really loved your Rocky voice, and I was like, what? I was like, that what? No way. And they were like, yeah, you took it in a place we totally didn't think it was gonna go, and I was like, oh. Okay. So then I started to the callback script that they gave us was for Rocky was a scenario between Rocky and what's her face, the techie. Dora. Who does Dora play?
Dora.
Anyway.
Someone.
Yeah.
Someone else in there.
Anyway, and
It's a big cast of characters.
and basically there's this confrontation where Dev. Rev. His name was Rev.
I don't know why I'm here and you're a voice actor. Come
Anyway, the script that they had us read, they basically took a script with 2 different of the voicing, right, of different characters, and then they put that audio together to see what it sounded like, blending the 2 characters together to see which characters would play the best together. And Dora ended up getting the part of the counterpart to mine, which was Rocky, in that part of the script. And it was a really, just depressing sort of, heartbreaking instance because she got upset with him because he was just being stupid, right? He was just being really ignorant and just talking and bugging her and being the Pinkie Pie of slow talking people, which is just the worst. And she was trying to do work, and she's like, Rocky, I'm trying to do work, and she just freaks out on him, and he just like tears up and's like, okay, I only came to talk to you because I don't have anyone else to talk to. Like, just like, aww. And so like I read that script and I was like, man, the feels. And then that's when I really got connected with Rocky, and I'm like, okay, I'll be this guy. And so I friggin' fell in love with the character. And so at our panel Friday, it was really funny because I can't really do Rocky on the spot unless I just get into that really negative emotional place. And so that's why I just start crying when I play as Rocky on these panels. I was not intending to cry at all. I just started talking as Rocky, and then the tears just started coming.
Yeah.
It was not intentional. I was laughing almost while I was crying. I was like, why is this happening?
Looking away.
Because I was sitting right next to him, and he started doing his voice, and he started doing the thing, and he was just like, oh, well, I don't know. He started doing that, and just single tear rolls down, and it doesn't stop. It's not a short one, it is loaded. That tear is going from gold, and I saw it, and it made me upset. And I started to play Office once, and I'm like, Rocky, are you okay?
And I was trying to just signal you out of character, this is totally not real right now, I'm totally not upset.
No, I
was just I couldn't break the wall there, so I was just God, I just can't do it. So yeah, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's stop this as quickly as possible. Yeah, so I do Rocky for that. I also do the narrator for the Vinyl Scratch tapes, for those of you that listen to that. It's pretty cool, also done by Midnight Magic Productions. We're in season 2 in full force. I think we actually got to release episode 1 at BronyCon, I think. And I love it. I love doing narration. That's pretty much my thing. So dramatic readings. Back in the day when I started doing radio, when I started working at Celestia Radio, people would say, can you please read this fan fiction on air? And I would always be the most comedic person because I would take stuff like Cupcakes and Rainbow Factory and read it in the most deadpan, flat narration voice on the face of the earth with absolutely no emotion whatsoever. And people loved it, so I just kept doing that. And eventually I got into doing more narration stuff. I also did the narration for Shipping and Handling, which is a radio play that hopefully is going to start being released very soon. The production is done, and they're going to be releasing on a week-by-week basis. So.
Who's that with? Awesome.
What is his name? It's super Swedish or something. It's Silent something is the dude's name. But it's basically a derpy story about how she gets into an actual OTP shipping thing where someone sends in a request of hey, I want to get set up with this person, but I just don't know how to break the ice. And so Derpy gets contracted into all these instances of being, getting people together, basically playing the matchmaker, the Cupid. Cool. So it's actually really cool. I'd never heard it before, and they were just we're looking for voices, and I was like, is there a narrator? And they're like, yes. And it was actually the best, worst decision I ever made because the narration is not like Vinyl Scratch tapes where I read a paragraph at the beginning and one at the end.
Yeah.
It's they want me to read the entire spoken dialogue of the entire script. So he would it literally has 20 chapters, and each chapter is so long. I would go into work, and 3 hours of the time I was at work, I would sit recording lines just straight through the whole blocks of dialogue.
So
He'd be
you
like,
actually get paid for doing it.
yeah. Well, I got paid for doing radio, and then I sort of used that time to do voices. It helps to have an actual sound booth with great gear. So I took advantage of that while I had it. But yeah, that was killer. It was just hey, I messed up this script. Please do this chapter again. Oh my god. It was hours of my life gone instantly. But that's what I do. So if you have any radio questions, I can definitely answer those. And then these, as far as actual voicing different characters, these two would be way better for that than me and this guy over here. So you are. Oh, this is a good song. this song.
I want to sing this so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Do it.
I'm so bad.
Well, you can go if you like.
Joe, I need to be here.
I was gonna say, you run in there like singing and run come back.
It's like start yelling, true, red!
You should like all get around the microphone in here and sing it and see if they hear it in there.
I'm waiting for somebody to
No,
like
sing it as Rocky.
Oh God.
Oh,
No. I just think we need to have like all the MLB songs sung in the most aggressive way possible. Just like,
I want
full rap?
MLP heavy metal.
Yes.
Like death metal.
Oh yeah.
There's some of those already.
Kind of like a person who's been smoking for 20 years.
Watch it.
At least I have it already.
So, Red.
Okay. I'm Rev. I'm mainly known for doing Discord stuff, like the one thing that I can say that everybody knows about, Epic Wub Time. I was Discord in that. I'm also a member of Silly Philly Studios. I did the music for Snowdrop, and I did Discord and Twilight the Unicorn, and I was the narrator for Donut Steel, which nobody saw. And I am also part of News Ponies. I'm a voice actor for them, but I actually can't say what my character is. But if you know any
Spoilers.
yeah. But if you know anything about my previous voicing experience, you know what you can probably guess what the nature of the character is going to be.
So I haven't been introduced yet. I take it.
What?
Well, it's not the radio play is not even technically out yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's in production.
And even then,
So
when
you're
it,
trying to keep at least one hidden character.
no, there's definitely more hidden characters, but if you knew who he was, it, you know, the hierarchy of the story might be.
There is a lot of the
Thrown away.
core starting story arc that kind of revolves around it. So
Yeah.
yeah, spoilers, dude.
We don't like spoilers. Nobody likes spoilers.
Oh, what else? I don't know, because half the stuff I record for ends up not working. So,
Yeah.
Isn't that always the case sometimes?
yeah, that's basically me.
We will go ahead and tell you that right now. There's like so many creative, great ideas out there. Seeing them through from people, not always as much as we'd like, because sometimes you can get a really great thing and you're like, yes, I'm doing this and this is so cool, and then like they're like, well, where's the updates? And they're like, well, we've decided to stop. We're just not getting anywhere with it. We're like, oh.
I feel guilty of that with Moonstuck.
Well,
It's terrible.
It's really like it's one of those things where like it's really frustrating from. I mean, it can be totally different too across different types of like
Yeah.
productions. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of scenarios. I've been in like all of them where some scenarios like you have some voice actors that are really dedicated, directing staff is really dedicated, and there's some really key roles where the voice actors just don't do anything, and they don't turn it in, and it delays production by like 8 years. And so that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And the other frustrating thing is when you have a really great, the entire voice acting staff is really dedicated, and then the direction staff is really bad, and they delay production. Both of those scenarios really suck. So, you know, it's not cool.
I would like to apologize for not being able to get another bullet point in. That's when I was in Love's Labor's Lost, and they were like sending me the email. I'm like, I'm barely getting back home until like 2 a.m. and I'm like asleep. I'm sorry. They were like, well, okay, we'll just put up the audition. We're like, what? Like,
Well, no,
no,
like here's the thing for like
So I apologize for that now.
for like shipping and handling. They had told me, we want to get a chapter out a week, and I'm like, you guys are gonna die. There's no way. I said I'll do it because I can, but I have way more lines than anyone else, obviously, like times 10. And I got all of like the 20 chapters done like in less than 20 weeks, and then it's like a whole year later, and there's people who still aren't done with like the 5th chapter yet. I'm like, you guys suck, because I spent like a ton of my life, like just like trying to compact this thing because I thought it was gonna release that
If I
fast.
ever do that with you guys, just fire me. Just go away, Kay.
I'm like,
Just
can
go
we just
away.
get new voice people?
Yeah,
Because
like-
we're waiting a year, and we don't have like the 5th chapter yet. Come on.
Definitely be wary of people like that. We want to get something out every week, and if
Yeah.
it's something that long,
As soon
just
as-
keep your.
As soon as he
don't
said
get your
that, I
hopes
was
up.
like, you realize what you're trying to do,
And they're always like, yeah, we know.
Also,
you don't.
never, ever, ever, ever go for movie projects. Ever.
It will never happen.
1%.
Yeah.
1%.
Fan-based?
0.00001%. Yeah. Think about how many animations there are that have voice acting in them that have been released in this fandom, and it's like 2.5 years of existence.
Right. I mean, if you think
Less than I can count on this hand.
yeah,
Okay.
and full length animated features, even in a professional business setting, take tons of time and money. Now imagine that it's people trying to just kind of do it with what they have available, and that doesn't mean that there can't be some really amazing things that have come out, but most all of it is less than 5 minutes. So if you imagine trying to get a cast and crew together to animate, anything an hour or longer, it's just not going to happen. I mean, we would love for it to, and I mean, there are those out there who I'm sure if you were able to take your pick, would be dedicated enough to get it done. But it's just with real life, this horrible thing called real life, and the things we face, it's really hard. And it's also hard when somebody might have a full-time paying job that they have to go to. I love acting. I would I get up every day and I love to do any voice or character. That being said, if I'm not getting paid to be said character, it's hard to devote that much time because you start finding yourself going, boy, I love to eat this week, or I could go do this for free. So, that's kind of part of it. So, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know, my name is Bradley Smith up here. I'm going by Headliner. I haven't right now released any voice acting that I've done, but I will be coming out with a podcast/sketch radio show called Comedy-itis, in which I will be doing voice acting. Other voice actors will be on it. Yeah, it's still a project coming out, and I hope to do more in the fandom. Aren't I better than all of you guys?
Would you like to be on Celestia Radio to have a piece of this famousness?
Be one with the beard.
Some of your beard?
No.
Can I just hide under your beard?
I can farm it.
Being
Farming?
Yes.
This isn't farming.
For magic.
being in the
That
show
reminds
with the
me.
beard is
Also
enough.
not Magic the Gathering.
That reminds me, one more thing. I do occasionally come on Celestia Radio in character as Discord, usually during DJ Squirrel's time. So if you listen to his show, I might occasionally pop up here and there as Discord.
That'd be amazing.
I love content providers.
Yes.
Ooh, really?
I do. I love them.
I love them, and they love me.
Bye.
No, they love you.
Okay.
It's mutual.
So let's actually do what this panel is
Q&A.
for.
Q&A.
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 things. Ask us stuff. Hopefully appropriate.
Front row first.
Okay.
With Tyler, what you said earlier about the whole news pony things, that's going to be fabulous, fantastic. Do you mean fantastic or fantastic?
I mean the News Ponies is going to be fantastic. Very good question.
We're so mature.
Actually, I just did that to get you to do that voice.
Excellent. Next question.
Yes.
In the back, Tux. Tux.
Hi. Yeah. So at the CR panel show, you said that you live like 5 minutes away from the people that do Emily Vance.
Yes.
Is there any possibility that you're going to be joining their crew as a voice actor?
That would be super cool. No, I say that because one, Greg and Alan are two really awesome guys. For those that don't know, if you're more familiar with like Rainbow Dash Presents, they do that. Sort of like a stop animation type thing where they talk about famous fan fiction in like 10 to 20 minutes, usually involving Rainbow Dash in a very silly, fantastic way, and they usually rewrite the entire story anyway. Like I remember like the first, I can't remember if it was either the Cupcakes one or if it was, I think it was that one. Like the first like 30 seconds of dialogue is the only part that's actually related to that at all. And then they totally branch off and it has nothing to do with the rest of the fan fiction.
Wait, which one that was?
It was straight up Cupcakes. The one that has a weird, name is Captain Hook and the Biker Gorillas, which they were trying to sneak onto EQD because they wouldn't accept anything called Rainbow Factory, and so they like made up this name of it because they're like they'll never watch it anyway. So they were just trying to sneak it on EQD. But yeah, they literally live like less than 5-minute drive away from me in Kansas City. And I would be thrilled to work with them, especially since Mentally Advanced is what introduced me to Celestial Radio, which is what got me into the fandom. So I owe those guys a lot, and Mentally Advanced is by far my favorite thing, like pretty much in the fandom. Like I love Mentally Advanced, especially the Rainbow Dash is just, you know, she's my favorite, but the way that they do her just is hilarious. So. I enjoy that. I encourage people to go watch that too. I don't know. I'll have to ask them and see if they'll let me join their awesome circle of 2 people.
Just briefly on that, the other thing that is kind of different, and we will say this as far as both fandom and as far as professional work, just because you might be friends or live near someone doesn't mean you'll end up working together on something, because sometimes you might just have, again, conflicting schedules, or there might just not be quite a position. And I mean, having been in theater for most of my life, there are people that, you know, you may be great friends with them, but you might not end up working with them ever for one reason or another. So.
Yeah, but networking is a very crucial part of it, so keep those people close.
Yes, because you never know, they might have an opening.
Yeah,
and then
they might go to you. Hey, that person lives near me. They're available.
Yeah, so.
Don't ever make it too awkward by trying to ask.
Yeah, please,
someone,
yeah.
Hey, so I know you're with this. Do you think you could put my name in there?
Yeah, and
that's just.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to approach it in a very delicate manner, and it has to be more about like, I just want to work. If there's ever anything, please let me know. As opposed to like, no, I totally am going to be on your show, and they're like, really?
Really? No, you will never be now.
Yeah.
Like literally that makes them want to say, now you're not going to be. Even if I wanted you to.
As a writer, I have many ideas that I want to put in development, but don't have a lot of connections in the fandom since I'm fairly new to actually going to cons and meeting people. How do I locate people in the voice acting community to do things that I want done?
Excellent question.
And get a hold of
Who wants to
people
go
who have
first?
production equipment.
I will tell you. Okay.
Yeah, but at least for the voice acting.
Well, first on people and connecting with people, when I started, I've been doing everything as a hobby and building up on my own for years. And then when I first started was with the fandom, like with other people. So immediately I was thinking to myself, when I wanted to do Moonstruck, I was like, wait, I want to do it, but I need at least a female voice actress. So I brainstormed, and then I was like, of course, it's right in front of me, Equestria Daily. They're connected with everything else. Tons of people go there and look for all kinds of things, whether they be just, you know, they're browsing for art or music or opportunities. So you can send them emails. I've done it tons of times. You just send them something and be like, hey, I have a project, have a page or something ready, you know, have some actual material, and then give it to them and be like, I would like to broadcast this and get some people interested. Tell them to like send an email to this email or however you want to set it up. Give it to them and they'll like give you an email. Usually it's someone going, to the queue! That's usually what they like to say whenever you're like, okay, you're accepted, you'll be thrown in the queue and it'll pop up there whenever it pops up.
As an aside to that, as a member of the media, definitely hit up as many possible places as you can. Places I can suggest, definitely Equestria Daily, Derpy Hoops News as well.
Nightly roundups on Equestria Daily. Voice actors check that
all the time. As well, now this goes more to the end of the production element and actually getting it out there. If you want to hit up like me, since you know I am a huge proponent of radio plays and anything that has talent, and it would be good over radio or TV since we have a TV station as well. I promote the heck out of it, and I love working with people. So if you basically need help figuring out a place to put it, or if you happen to be looking for other, VAs or something, or just looking to get it out into the news people, you can totally hit me up because I will definitely spread the word. That's the whole networking thing going on right here, right? Yep. So always feel free to shoot me an email, info@ponify.me, or djshamrocklive@gmail.com. And I will totes talk to whoever I need to help speed the process across, because I'm a big promoter of cool creative things, and I like to see things happen, especially when they're really good ideas. So on that element, definitely do that. Oh God.
Just a question, I guess, to you, Shamrock, just to build off of this. If all I have is an idea and I have not fleshed out a script or anything yet, what would you recommend of me for that? Like, how much content should I create before I start going out and doing that?
Before you start contacting people like me?
Yes.
All you need is an idea and throw it at me, and I will tell you what I think about it. And at that point, then I can sort of help push you to the people that I think would probably be in your interest of getting that moved along. Even if it's not me or anybody else for that matter. I usually know who is good to go to, especially Equestria Daily, and because I talk to Seth like on a constant basis. So sometimes it's hard to get in there. Like you send in emails all the time, and it's they'll either nightly round up you, or it'll take a few days, or sometimes they don't do it just because it's tough. But since I talk to them, I can be like, hey, put this on. And they're like, okay, let me check my email for it. It's basically one of those things where it's like, sometimes it just slips through the cracks. If you don't hear back from them, people get frustrated all the time, and it's like, if you just like tell me to slap him, just be like, Seth, check your email, dude, like it's right here. And he'll be like, oh, I totally missed that. Okay, we'll put it on. So it's sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes it's just an extra little shove of kindness that you need to get it moved along. So if if you're finding trouble getting it moving and people aren't listening to you, then I will listen, I promise. So I'll try and push that.
I do also, with that though, there is always the warning of looking out for, what was it, the California note, the producer's note, where like somebody just never gets back to you because they just don't want to directly tell you no, so they just never respond to emails, period. And it's just like, this takes a little while to get used to, because, I mean, it's just weird. You're like,
you just sit there
waiting, and then so. I mean, if you now, true, we're all imperfect human beings, and technology even more imperfect because it was made by us. But so there are times where an email does get lost. But then there might be, if you're sending like 5 emails, and you send like an email a day, 5 days a week for 3 weeks, they're getting those. They're choosing not to email back. So I mean, or they had some really horrible tech issue, but in that case, I would. But I know I was gonna say. But then they're not even on a computer now, so you might not even need.
Probably you're better off somewhere else.
So. Or just a very lame excuse. They can.
I would say with emails, about 3 days is a good waiting period until you send in another one just saying, did you get it? Don't expect like an immediate response or within the next day, because some people.
Because I'll say for me, and I'm probably like one of the worst case scenario people when it comes to emails, and that is basically that all the time it'll happen. Like someone will email me, I'm like, okay, this is important. I will respond to this when I can think about it, and then I forget, and then because I get a lot of emails, and then like they'll email again, I'll be like, oh yeah. That person, I totally forgot. As soon as I can think of something to respond with, I will talk to them again. And then I forget again, and then they just never email me again. So I swear, like if at that point when I'm just like, yes, I will, because I always try to respond, even if it's with no, or just with like, we don't do that kind of thing, or whatever I can think of that sounds generic and not as evil. I try and at least respond, because I think it's a little disrespectful not to even answer somebody.
Admit it, you're just lying. No,
and
we don't have time for that. There's a giant gaping schedule.
And so if it's just, this is particularly for me, I can't speak on behalf of other people, but if it reaches that point, if you like email me at least once a week, I swear to God, eventually I will respond. Because, you know, if you email me like twice and then are like, nah, he's not gonna respond, it's probably just I forgot, and then like years later I find an email and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad because I totally forgot
Just
about it.
title your email in big bold letters, stop forgetting me.
Or something related to the beard, I'll probably be like, I need to answer that, whatever that is. Like something.
Deploying the beard signal.
Deploying beard signal alerts. Right, I got
Yes,
this.
the beard mobile.
You have been waiting with your arm, yes. So sorry.
You should make a
I'm sorry,
card
did you
that
have
has the beard, called the beard mobile.
Anything else to add?
I'm sorry.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, okay, for Tyler, have you seen the science movement walking around?
Have I seen the science Wuna?
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh, you have
Are you
it?
kidding me?
Her name is Mia. She's right over there in the sing-along.
Wow.
She'll probably stop by at the station.
Well, yeah, right after this I'll be over
Yeah,
there,
also
so
she
I.
Okay. The actual question.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, I actually, first time at this con, I signed something for someone. I signed 2 things.
Wait, that's right. Wait, 2? What was the other?
That's it. One was, it was a kid and his mom. Is like, he's a big fan or whatever, and he wants your autograph. And I was like, oh, thanks. And the other one was just a random person that was just like signing stuff with Kira because we've been hanging out this whole con. And he was like, oh yeah, you do all that stuff with her on Tumblr too. Might as well get your signature too. And I was like, oh, well, that's good. Awesome. Fantastic. But yeah, that's fantastic.
That actually reminds me of a story from last Brony Fan Fair. It's a short but very interesting story. But it's very short. Yeah. I'll keep it as quick as possible. So we showed up here at Brony Fan Fair. It was one of our first cons for like, you know, a group of Celestia Radio people, especially guests. It was like our first being guests at a con. And we came and there was a mother that approached me and said, hey, you know, I have 3 girls here who would love to get signatures from you. And I looked at her for a second and I was like, wait, you say from me? Like, do they listen to our station? Because, I mean, just as an FYI, like, anything goes on my radio station. And so there's a lot of content that is not okay for little kids. And she was like, yeah, they love it, you know? And I was like, what? I was like, I hope you supervised and no, but it's most of it's okay, and we usually keep that stuff to the nighttime, but it was still one of those things where it's like, I'm particularly known for that station, right? And that radio station that does not, you know, censor anybody on it, and I believe in that with my full heart's content, but it was great to be like, wow, even the little kid, I can get all the people at the 18 plus panel, and even these little kids that love CR, that is just incredible. And so I got to sign her stuff and meet those. Nothing's better than signing stuff for a little kid.
That's
nothing is better than
I
that.
haven't experienced that.
You should someday, hopefully. It's I've only very rarely given my, you know, portfolio, but it's a special experience.
You see the twinkle in the eye, and it just, one single tear from you.
Any other questions?
Question.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody else?
Anybody else? Okay.
This guy.
So, when you're doing voice acting in a fan,
Shut up.
So, voice acting in the MLP fandom, is it a little difficult when you realize that about 80% of the principal characters are girls?
Very, very difficult.
And any stories about that?
I'll let the actual character voice actors answer this first.
Because of your Discord, that's even better.
It's definitely a lot more difficult to find parts when you're a male voice actor in the fandom because not only are there so few male characters, but they appear so very little in fan-created content, especially things like radio dramas or animation. Well, radio dramas actually there.
We have a little bit more there.
There's more balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's usually got to be some sort of.
Yeah, but usually, especially if you're a guy, you really gotta go out and find stuff, and like email people, look for auditions and stuff like that. Because honestly, even if it's unpaid stuff, even just fan stuff, it's still an experience. It's still good for you.
And any minor roles too. Like take anything you can get.
If there's like an additional voice that they throw you in and it's 3 words or something like that, look out, Rainbow Dash! Take it. Just take it. And own it. Yeah, definitely. But like with everything else, I mean, if you're not getting like main people, like if some, you know, the main ones, Discord, Blue Blood, Shining Armor, anything of that sort, whatever. Just do what you can find and just reach out as much as you can. And yeah, it's frustrating sometimes. But I mean, fan projects, better ratio.
Go ahead. I guess I asked you about this when I met you first at the con. Basically, I was asking him how he was getting out and doing voice acting, and he actually gave me the answer that I kind of had already started, and it was basically doing your own things, because you done this stuff, and as you said, I might as well do the male voice acting for myself. Just as with the project that I've been working on, it's like, I can do voice acting for my own project. That's a very easy way. If you can create something that's not physically based around the characters in the show, like Ponyville or anything, and you're like, okay, I can do, like with News Ponies, there's a lot of male characters, because it's not, Ponyville or anything, but it's still in the world of Equestria, and it's still going to be an amazing project with many great characters. But they made it to where it's a male project because they understand the voice actors.
I've just got to also agree. It is kind of difficult at first, because especially that was kind of something I faced, because as I'm looking through all these different projects, and at the time I didn't know as much about EQD and these different places, nightly roundup to go look. So I'm just like, there's like 3 male characters. So if it's just gonna be that, well then I'm up against every other person imitating Blue Blood, or I'm up against every other person imitating Big Macintosh. And it wasn't until as you find more fan projects, the best thing I could just say is research and look. Just keep looking, because they are out there, and we wouldn't be up here if they weren't. So, but yes, there is definitely, of course, an easier time for females in that. In the fandom, because they are able to. Now, I should take that back. It's not necessarily easier, because now there's even more girls who are going to be contending for those parts. But yeah, it does have a little bit of a weight to it as far as that goes.
As far as because I've been asked by a lot of people, like, how do I get into voice acting, or like because you'll say, okay, well who would you, or I try and say, well, I'll try and shoot you an email if I see anything about a new radio play or anything, and just be like, heads up, this is going on, they're looking for people, try and throw auditions in there, and they're always like, well, I'm not sure who I could voice, and it's sort of like, well, that's one of the things that is very difficult, because it's going to fluctuate dramatically, especially if you have like characters that are not from the show that are male, because you don't know what. You don't know what they might sound like. It depends on how much direction you're given, like what they're supposed to sound like. And so one usually solid choice that I would recommend to people, if you have the voice for it, try and do what I did and go into narration. Because there's almost always a need for a narrator, and it's almost always gonna be the same type of voice, right? So it fluctuates a little bit. Like for instance, Vinyl Scratch Tapes, they really wanted God, what's the guy's name? I can't even think of it now. But one of the famous like news anchors. Was it Walter? I don't know if that voice is Walter Cronkite or.
This is news radio.
Yeah, it was kind of Walter Cronkite. Yeah, it was a little Walter Cronkite. And the Vinyl Scratch Tapes. So it was sort of like a sort of the deeper, more like Christian Bale radio voice, so there's that type, and then there was for shipping and handling, they were like, he was like, no, could you try and do it more like active. This is usually very strange for narration, but again, that fic was very strange that they asked me to do the whole narration. So they actually wanted me to like fluctuate my voice based on what was happening in the story, which I was totally not used to, because again, I did like a deadpan comedy for narration, so I'm used to just like flat, monotone, nothing over all the most serious. And then she flew really, really fast and broke her leg and then died. And then, just flat, whereas like, in shipping and handling, he was like, go crazy. I'm like, as a narrator? And then he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So sometimes you might get that. But it was interesting.
Yes. Wait. Another word on that. If you have different characters and you're looking for auditions for male characters and they don't have that much direction on character, and you don't know where you want to go with it, don't be afraid of that. Yeah. Give it your all and think of something, because when you're an actor and you want to be an actor, you have to improvise sometimes and create that character yourself.
Just make a choice, whether it's the choice they agree with or not. They would rather you make a choice and disagree than you not make a choice at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you show some skill with that voice, who knows, they'll call you back and be like, hey, that wasn't quite the voice I was thinking of, but your acting is really good. Could you try it maybe a little bit higher and just more all over the place?
Give you another word.
Yeah, that too.
Or conversely, they'll do like they did with some of the other people in the actual, in News Ponies, where they had a certain idea in mind, like especially with Rocky, and then like you do something that they weren't expecting, and they're like, we actually like that more. Like, please do that. So you can change their minds sometimes if you have a really, really different voice than they were thinking of.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you might audition for a character and they, like the voice you did for that character, but they also want you to try for other things, because I know in News Ponies, they're like, we really like your halfway, but we also want you to try out actually for Sports Night and Bullet Point too. Yeah. And so I tried out for them, didn't get it. And
I was so intimidated by you guys.
They had us do pretty much everything, almost. At least half of there were 8 male characters, maybe more.
8.
So I only tried out for Sports Night, whoever the helicopter guy is. Traffic Jam? Yeah, I think it's Traffic Jam. Traffic Cam. Okay, it was 2 or 3 characters, and then I was done. They're like, that was good. Also, could you try this character differently and then do the rest of them? Oh, okay. I'll see if I can find the time. And then I did, and then they were like, no, just Sports Night's good.
Yeah.
Sports Night's good.
Yes.
The reason I asked you about playing voice actors is one of the projects I'm working on, collaborating with my son as well, is called My Mighty Stallions. We want to completely gender flip them.
Hey.
Oh, well.
So I need male versions.
Well, I don't know where you would ever find
exactly
any,
I wonder.
Huh?
I don't know, you know what?
No.
So anybody who's interested, whether you're up there or over here,
Definitely.
I'll give you my cards and maybe we can start something.
Yeah.
Start something.
Networking right here.
Yeah, exactly. Give him all your information, get something solid going, and be like, there's going to be a thing coming. Look out for it.
Something I want to add really quickly, and then we'll get to the question, is that with just kind of what we've all said, if you ever get callbacks on any kind of audition and it's not for roles you auditioned for, that means that they have plans for you or they have something in mind for you. They wouldn't call you back unless they thought you had something. And as you've been said, if it's even just 3 words, take it.
Yeah. Yes.
DJ Sham, I have a question for you. Has your beard ever been set for any roles?
I tap into it a little bit anytime I do the narrator for Vinyl Scratch Tapes. Just
Wasn't it the stunt beard in Grizzly Adams?
It was actually. It's actually also partially Christian Bale's stunt double in the Batman series. Because he had to protect his amazing face, right? So yeah, I took all the face hits when he runs into the side of the building. That was the beard sponging him back.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We have about 4 minutes left, so yeah. So, yes, question.
So, how many projects do you think it is a good idea to balance for yourself personally?
To be involved in it once?
To be
working on?
It depends. It depends on how much, if you're just acting, how much you're recording for each thing. For instance, you were doing a chapter a week or something like that, and that's
with 40 hours of work a week, and I was only recording at work, and I had to like actually have time. So it was like every Sunday, like while all the church programming stuff is going on, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and sneak into the other room and hope that everything doesn't break while I'm in there. Which happens sometimes. Then I get an angry call from my boss, and I have to, but there's that, and then also, you know, like trying to run another radio station, and you know, being involved, you know, with trying to put up other projects like vinyl scratch tapes and news ponies. It gets very busy, and so if I say I can, you know, I try and at least commit. If I say I can do it, then I better dang well be able to do it. So you definitely, that needs to be the thing. So I would say if you're starting out, start off with one, understand how it works. Each single production crew is going to be totally different. So the pace is going to be different. Their expectations are going to be different. You know, accept one, get an idea for what it's like. You know, if you feel like you can take on a lot more, maybe apply for another one if there's something else coming up. Judge what that one's going to be like before they start recording lines, get into that, and sort of just judge, you know, play it by ear is what I would say. Make sure that you're never taking on more, even if you think, if you're just like, I wonder if I don't do it, because you want to be able to commit to those productions. They will love you for it, and other people like us will love you for it, because we hate when that stuff gets delayed. It is the most hateful thing that we could possibly imagine is someone that slows up a production. It sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, especially if you're first starting out and you're still developing your acting skills and all of that, I would really just focus, if you have a main part and not just like additional voices and stuff, really focus on that one character during the production of it for a while, own it, and figure out like your process for getting that character, and then you can start taking on multiple projects, because you'll know how to, you know, develop that character and do it well each and every time.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. Yeah, with that, there's quality is so much more than quantity. Because we would, you know, both, you know, viewers, directors, everyone would rather see you do one part and just make it beautiful, make it wonderful, than like, my gosh, this person is in 10 things and every time it's just kind of eh. So, I mean, really feel out each part. There was a time I ended up in 6 things at once and I went, oh my God, why am I doing this? And again, whatever is going on outside of the booth, outside of your microphone is also important. If I'm in a production where I'm having to be at the theater, you know, 8+ hours, then yeah, I'm not gonna have much time to go back and sit and do a bunch of recording. So that being said, it's gonna vary from time to time in your life. It's gonna depend on how many lines do you have. It's gonna depend on how much emotion is in there. If you're doing a character with a lot of screaming and your voice goes out, or if you come to a convention and have to do a lot of talking and your voice goes out, guess what? That's almost a week where you're not gonna be able to really record because you're gonna sound like this. So, you know, just use your best judgment, and as he said, when you're first starting, just try and perfect your art, because that's the way it's going to get better, and that's going to get you those more parts that you're looking into.
And the other thing to consider when it comes to, you know, when you're thinking about your overall quality, as he said, and you're putting that stuff in, keep in mind, not all of them, but a lot of the people, whether it's the voice actors or the production staff, know each other in other productions, right, and other stuff. And if they happen to hear that like you're the one that's holding up that one production because you can't get your stuff in on time, other people probably know that, and it's going to be a lot less likely that you get hired. So it's very important to keep in mind the networking that goes on behind the scenes, because it is, you know, it's just, that's the kind of atmosphere. It's like, oh, even if the voice is really good, we don't want the production delayed to hear, you know, it's like a job. It's practically like applying for another job. And those people know each other.
Yeah, real quick on that?
Yeah.
Just there was a time at an audition, this was live theater, but it still applies. There was a guy who came forward, did an amazing read, and did song and dance with it, did the full number, had somebody come in, play their music and everything. It's absolutely amazing. This actor was a total jerk, was a horrible person to work with, and one of the other directors had come in to act as an assistant director that had worked with this man before. And as he finished, he's like, well, thank you, I'll see you. And he basically said, I'll see you at the first, the first read through. And like they started to put him in the, they had the stacks and it was yes, no, maybe. Or sorry, yes, maybe, no. And then like they start to put it, and the assistant goes, no. And they start to move it over to the main. And move it over to the note. He took the paper from him, like crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. I mean, like it was just like it wasn't just no. So I mean, you may be great, but if you are not easy to work with, they will not call you. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Last question.
We're
past.
Yeah, but there's nothing else in here.
Oh, okay.
Just one really quick little add-on. If you're ever in a project and they want you to voice something and you say, okay, what's the deadline? They say, no deadline. No!
Run!
Run! Because if they say no deadline, you will never, ever, ever do it.
It will never see
It
the
will
light of day.
never see the light of day.
Never.
Yep.
Never.
Any other questions?
Personal experience,
From
yes.
all of us, probably.
The golden thing on that is maybe if you are the only person outside of a small group that they haven't even told you about, like you're the only person that they're waiting on. But that's like 0.001%.
Yeah. There's always the chance, but not.
If you got a little bit of time, like 10 minutes, and it's a short line, go for it, whatever. But don't get your hopes up.
Yeah.
I saw a hand.
So how do you bail out burning ships?
A what?
A burning ship.
How do you bail out of a burning ship?
You tell them politely that you have other things to do and your priorities lie elsewhere. And you don't give them any more information like that. You don't need to, especially if they're a close friend. They'll understand. And that's pure and simple. You just do it professionally.
Sometimes it can just be that the entire ship is burning, and so you just have to go
Leave the chat.
Go over to Skype, right-click the chat name, leave chat.
Conversation.
You're good.
Basically, if you're like in a production and you start to see like maybe once like if there's no talking in the chat and then suddenly once a day people start leaving the chat, abandon ship.
Yeah.
Like that's the
That's
sign
it.
that this isn't happening. Run.
You're also giving them the Hollywood no. You're like just won't answer anything anymore.
Yeah. It's like I officially leave this chat.
I officially
Done.
abandon.
Done. I've seen that happen before. It's like, yep, that's happening.
The thing with that though is, though I haven't done My Little Pony voice acting, I have done other works. With that, you need to be able to step out of those burning ships, because if you try to be like, oh, well, I'll give them the chance, you're letting your resources take up time that doesn't need to be taken up, or at least you're waiting on basically an inevitable fail when you could just be like, all right, I'm sorry, I've got to go. You give them your polite excuse and you leave. You need to be able to do that. So, other questions?
I'm totally lost in this whole voice acting thing. Okay. When you're doing these, especially the fan ones, there's do you have other people, what do you look, you're looking at just the script and you're cold reading, you have no idea what other people sound like, how does that work?
So basically, as a quick like rundown cheat sheet of like, and again, it changes dramatically from production to production. I'll tell you what happened with one of the greatest productions I've been a part of, the Vinyl Scratch tapes. They actually had a Google Doc together, and they basically sent out to EQD. They said, can you link this and tell people about our thing? They had this whole spiel, and on the doc it was literally had, all the stuff that said, like Vinyl Scratch tapes, da-da-da. And they had each of the characters that you could audition for, and they had links to lines that they wanted you to read from the script that was already done. Usually, sometimes it'll be like, can you say this paragraph? Right? Or sometimes like for news ponies, it was like, here's 3 quick takes. So like 3 maybe sentence long things. Could you say this? And like, they'll pick like, oh, here's this line in their normal voice. Here's this line in a, somber, very, sad voice. And here's them very excited or agitated, right? So that tends to be sort of the gamut of how, those are organized. Sometimes it's, as it was with my shipping and handling one, it was like, here's the first chapter, just read that whole thing, and then that'll be your audition. And I'm like, dear God. Yeah, so a lot of times it's that. You don't know who's, you don't know who's involved, who else is involved besides production staff. You don't know any of the other people that are applying. You don't know any of that stuff. You don't know what any of the other characters are going to sound like, other than what they say. Here's this character. Here's what they should sound like. Please do that voice for this person. Here are the lines. And then you just send in your MP3 files in and hope that it was good. And you hopefully get a response back, pulling you back in and saying, okay, please do this. And it's the quickest summation I can think of really to how it begins anyway.
It's also kind of. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Did you want to? No. Okay. It is also there is a similarity with that, like when people go in and have to dub anime or anything that's already got mouth flap movement. Is if you're the first person in the booth, you have nothing to go on because you're going to be the one that everybody else responds to. So that was with News Ponies. They just asked us to read and hoped, and we were just hoping that it matched. I wasn't sure how intense the other person in my conversation. I don't know how angry she was going to be. I didn't know if she was going to deliver it more, kind of in here, or if she was really going to be screaming. We didn't know. But that being said, if you're lucky, they might already have finished their part and you can respond. But sometimes it's just you both film, they send it to the editor, or you both record, you send it to the editor, and the editor's just going to piece it together.
And sometimes they want it set up like that, where it's totally random, and they just okay, the two that magically just appear together, that's the one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's throwing darts at a board. It's just those two just happen to be perfect, and so there you go. So it totally depends. Sometimes it's on purpose.
You have to go with whatever your gut instinct tells you. If you have the time to read out a line before you start, really think about, see whatever direction they might have, tone of voice and whatever. If they don't say anything as of acting-wise, take it above and beyond, even if it sounds weird, and then build from there, the building blocks, less intense, more intense, whatever the line might be. My golden thing is 3 takes per line, sometimes more if it's, depending on the line. And, they will choose from those takes.
Okay, so you're saying you're best the three, you like the best out of the bunch.
They were signaling that we did have to go ahead and wrap up. But if you have any questions, feel free to follow us into the hall. You can ask us really anything you want. So.
Hooray! I have permission to stop.
Yes. Have a good one.
I'm sorry, I had to.